You grip a hot steering wheel while the gasoline line stalls. The radio hisses, your fuel needle touches empty. Then the president links this line to freedom. So what danger does he see? To answer, you have to enter a speech that memory has squeezed into one word. Jimmy Carter speaks from the Oval Office on July 15, 1979. The address will be remembered as the Malaise speech. Carter never says Malaise, he names something more precise, a crisis of confidence, then connects it to the shopping bag in your hand, the ballot you leave unused, the oil tanker crossing the ocean, and the silent car waiting ahead of you. Carter had planned a familiar energy talk. He said it would have been the 5th time he described the urgent problem and handed Congress another list of recommendations. Instead, he cancelled the broadcast and disappeared behind the trees at Camp David. For 10 days, cars climbed the wooded road, carrying governors, labor leaders, business people, teachers, preachers, and private citizens. Carter filled a notebook with their complaints. Why did a speech about fuel suddenly become an argument about the American spirit? At a long table, the visitors gave him blunt pictures. One said Washington had stopped seeing ordinary people. Another imagined the nation's neck stretched over a fence while an oil cartel held a knife. A mayor reminded him that nothing could be sold on Wall Street until someone dug it from the ground. A labor leader told him not to hand the public tiny guns for an energy war. Carter carried those voices back to the White House, opened his notebook, and read some of them aloud. He began with a threat that could not be photographed like a tank or measured like a barrel of oil. Political liberties still stood. The military remained powerful. The country was at peace. Yet Carter said confidence in the future was eroding the beams that held families, businesses, public institutions, and democracy together. People no longer trusted that their children would live better lives. They no longer trusted government, and they were beginning to doubt their own power as citizens. But how could private doubt become a public failure? He traced that doubt through a row of national wounds. A ballot box gave way to the gunshots that killed John Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. A soldier stepped from the mud of Vietnam, carrying a broken promise of invincibility. A locked Watergate door stained the presidency. A dollar shrank under rising prices. Then the country reached 1973 and discovered that its fuel supply could be squeezed from far beyond its borders. What could a line of cars at a gas station reveal about all of that? For Carter, the line revealed a country confusing freedom with endless appetite. He pictured homes packed with new possessions while purpose drained from the people inside them. Human identity, he said, was no longer defined by what one did, but by what one owned. Imagine a shopper pushing a cart piled above eye level, adding a television, a toaster, a chair, and another bright box, while the floor beneath the wheels begins to crack. The pile grows, but the person behind it becomes harder to see. Was the shopper the only person pushing that overloaded cart? That was not simply a lecture about buying too much. Carter turned the camera toward Washington too. He described the Capitol as an island cut off from ordinary life. He pictured Congress pulled in every direction by hundreds of well-financed special interests. Each group clung to its own rope. Each extreme position fought to the last vote, and a balanced plan that asked something from everyone sat abandoned like an orphan. The citizen saw paralysis. The officials saw another meeting. The gasoline line did not move. So why would one missing word change how this whole warning was remembered? Now the missing word matters. Malaise sounds like fog, fatigue, or a mood that might pass after a good night's sleep. Carter's phrase was crisis of confidence. He was warning about a broken circuit between people and institutions, between private choices and public goals, between the promise of progress and the fear that tomorrow would be worse. He drew two paths, one toward fragmentation and self-interest, the other toward common purpose. Then Carter returned to the gasoline pump. In a little more than one generation, he said, the country had gone from energy independence to importing almost half the oil it used. Foreign tankers carried fuel toward American ports, while money flowed in the opposite direction. Drivers spent aggravating hours in long lines. Factories paid more. Families watched prices climb. Dependence on foreign oil, Carter argued, had become a handle that distant events could use to shake the American economy. But if his diagnosis reached into identity and democracy, why did the second half of the speech sound like a hardware list? Carter wanted energy to be the immediate test of whether shared purpose was still possible. A warning without a task could dissolve into another gloomy broadcast. So he placed barrels, bonds, buses, pipelines, power plants, solar panels, and thermostats on the table. The country would prove it could act together by changing the machinery that kept the gasoline line alive. His first promise was a ceiling. The United States would never import more oil than it had in 1977, then would cut its dependence in half by the end of the next decade. He proposed an energy security corporation to pour money into domestic fuels. He proposed a solar bank to help sunlight warm homes and businesses. He asked utilities to burn less oil. He wanted faster decisions on refineries and pipelines. This was not a clean modern package. Coal, shale oil, synthetic fuel, and new construction stood beside solar power and conservation. Would government carry the entire load, or would Carter reach through the television into every driveway? Then the policy reached through the television and into the viewer's driveway. Carter asked people to join carpools, ride public transportation, avoid unnecessary trips, obey the speed limit, adjust thermostats, and park one car for one extra day each week. Picture a suburban street where garage doors stay closed, neighbors squeeze into one station wagon, and a city bus pulls away full. Every saved gallon, he said, acted like a new gallon produced. Conservation became not an empty cupboard, but a small piece of control brought home. Was he now blaming drivers for a crisis built by governments, markets, and oil producers? This is the turn that the later nickname often hides. Carter did not say government could wash its hands because citizens had bad attitudes. He proposed federal corporations, import limits, public investment, legal mandates, and aid for poor households. He also did not say a law alone could rebuild confidence. He asked officials to act, businesses to accept limits, and citizens to change habits. His whole argument rested on shared sacrifice, which is harder to sell than either a miracle from Washington or a villain who can carry all the blame. Was Carter warning the country, or was he revealing the weakness of his own presidency? The honest answer is that the speech does both. A president appears on screen, admitting mixed success, reading criticism of his leadership, and asking an exhausted public for more effort. The candor gives the address its force. The same candor also gives every opponent a weapon. A leader can hold up a mirror, but voters may decide the tired face in the glass belongs to him. What survived after the political damage was done? The speech did not end the energy fight. Its proposals moved through a government still pulled by the ropes Carter described. The next summer, he signed an Energy Security Act that included synthetic fuels, renewable energy, solar programs, conservation, and other measures. Yet the richer warning about confidence was flattened into the word he never spoke. Years later, Carter called Malaise an erroneous label and still defended the text as one of his best speeches. That was his judgment, not the final verdict of history. So return to the hot car and the unmoving line. Carter saw more than missing gasoline. He saw a country with its hand on the horn, each driver trapped alone, each person demanding movement from a machine nobody trusted enough to repair together. His warning was that freedom could shrink into the right to grab one more advantage, while roads, institutions, and common purpose cracked underneath. The danger in the line was not only an empty tank, it was the possibility that Americans no longer believed they could choose a road together.